Hey guys, it's Snow aka Jed, the rogue behind classicroguecraft.com. So today let's talk about soloing the fire resist buff in Upper Blackrock Spire. Now, a lot of people know about the fire resist buff now. You get it by mind controlling a spellbinder in Upper Blackrock Spire and casting the fire resist buff on one of your players. It's popular to be used as part of the fire more resist stacking, so it's also in my fire more resist stacking guide, and a lot of raids use this just to buff your fire resist as a raid. So what's typically going to happen is they're going to get a priest in here who's going to mind control the spellbinder. They're going to clear it out for the priest, and it usually happens roughly on raid day, just before you enter Blackwing Lair. Now, you can actually do all of this solo as a rogue, which actually makes it a lot easier for you. You're not bound to waiting for a priest to help you with this. You can get this as part of your regular buff run, because really you don't need the full 1 hour duration on your fire resist buff usually. So you can get this when you're getting your 2 hour buffs, get it at the end, then grab your 1 hour buffs on your buff run, and then you're good to go on raid day. So you don't even have to worry about the priest buff and all of that when it comes to raid day, and you're just chilling while everyone else is busy doing that. So here's how you solo the fire resist buff. So firstly, what you need is a gnomish mind control helmet. Now you do need to be engineering for this, so that is the one requirement for doing this, but I hope that a lot of you rogues are engineer already, because you get sapper charges, which are huge for PvE, and engineering has huge uses in PvP as well. So it's just a great trade skill if you're serious about raiding and PvPing at any level. Now, the one thing to remember here when you're mind controlling a spellbinder is, one, that the level matters. So a level 54 spellbinder will give you an 81 fire resist buff, but the level 55 will give you a 83 fire resist buff. Now, if for some reason you can't get the level 55 one, it's not a big deal to be missing 2 fire resist. It's really not a big factor, but obviously if you can, aim to get the level 55 spellbinder. Okay, now before you do anything else, what you want to do here is make a macro. Now, what the macro is going to do is going to automate everything that you'd normally be doing after you mind control the spellbinder. So if you don't have this macro, normally you'd have to mind control the spellbinder, then you have to target yourself, then you have to look for your new pet bar, which has a list of all the spells that the spellbinder can cast, and then you have to click the fire resist buff. Now, all of this is a bit of a hassle when you're in the middle of mind controlling this guy for a short duration. You're worried, especially if it's your first time doing this. It's way easier to just make this macro, because then all you do is mind control cat the spellbinder, click the macro, and you're good to go. Okay, now there's a few things that can go bad. So I'm going to show you all the scenarios of what can go bad when you're trying to do this. So the first scenario is when you're walking up here, you find the spellbinder, you cast your mind control cat, but it backfires. Now what happens here is you become the pet. Now for rogues, it's actually not a big deal. If you're an undead rogue, one, you can break out of it straight away. So that's really not a big deal. But even if you're not an undead rogue, you just wait out the 30 seconds, the mind control will drop, then you just vanish, camp out for 30 minutes, because that's the cooldown for your mind control cat, and then just log back in after 30 minutes and then do it again. So the instance will also reset while you're logged out. So that's no big deal again, because when it resets, it teleports you to the front of the instance again, which is pretty much where you'd be camped out anyway. So nothing really changes. You can keep doing this every 30 minutes until you succeed. Now the second scenario to watch out for is that the spellbinder fire resist buff does have a cooldown. So what this means is if the spellbinder recently used the fire resist buff on one of the allies around them, when you go to mind control him, his cooldown might still be up. And if you see the macro here, you can see that on my spellbar, I can't click on it because it's on cooldown. So mind control cap has a very short duration, and if you get the timing of this wrong, it's basically another wasted attempt, because you won't be able to click on the fire resist buff before the mind control wears out. So if that happens again, no big deal. You can camp out, you just reset for another 30 minutes. But ideally you want to watch out for this when you're walking up to the spellbinder. So when you're going up and stealthing towards the spellbinder, keep an eye for him casting any spells, and then keep an eye for the graphic of the fire resist around one of his allies. So if you see that happen, then you know, hey, I probably shouldn't use my mind control cap for maybe 20-30 seconds at least before I go for it. Okay, so that's just something to keep an eye out. Now here's what happens when it goes perfectly. So you can see it here. We go up to the Spellbinder, we cast mind control cap, we click on macro, and we're good. Now one thing to keep in mind is when the target is mind controlled, sometimes depending on where you're standing, the mobs around him might be attacking you, they might be attacking the Spellbinder. Just don't worry too much about it, just hit evasion. You can tank it, they don't really hit that hard. You just have to survive for the time of the mind control. Then once the mind control wears off, then you hit vanish. Do not vanish before mind control wears off on the target, because then you just re-aggro, because it will still count that pet that's attacking as in combat, so you won't drop aggro. So wait until mind control ends and then hit your vanish and you're good to go. Okay, so I hope this guide helped you out. I have a whole series of raid related videos, including a world buff for rogue specifically video that I'll be releasing in the private Discord. So make sure you're in the Discord if you haven't already. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and give it a like. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.